Okay, so we have Saturday breakfast. I guess I gotta be a little bit quiet because some people are still asleep. Okay, so we have toast. That's what the bread's for. And we got cereal. And we're going to have ham. And down here, avocados. I don't know what they're for. Okay, and we got eggs. So ham and eggs, apple juice, pancakes for breakfast. First thing we're going to do is open up the ham. And this is all freeze packed. One of the problems when you vacuum pack has a tendency to break up a lot of your meat. And what we're going to do, we're going to add some hot water to this and let it start soaking in. So we're going to put some hot water on here and let that start soaking in. Wow, that is really good. It only took about 4 minutes for this to soak in and come back to life. That is really good ham. In addition to the ham and eggs, we also have pancakes. So water is provided at this campsite. So the struggle we've always had with camping is what to do with the ice and the dry ice, because the ice only lasts for about a day and a half and it melts away, and the dry ice is about the same. So with everything being freeze dried, we don't have to worry about ice. Those are just about ready. So we got water on the boil, and we have our fry pans, griddle all ready. The ham is already reconstituted. Ham tastes great. And once everyone wakes up, we're going to start the eggs. Now the eggs are already cooked, so we're not recooking them. We're just going to heat them back up in that skillet. But what we don't want to do, we don't want to add too much water. So we'll just have to do this a little bit at a time and let the eggs suck up what moisture they will. And once the moisture is sucked up, we'll add a little bit more. The eggs are just about done. So once the eggs are done, I can go back to the regular eggs. These eggs have tomatoes and peppers and ham and all sorts of things in these things.
take it off the fire?
Actually, no, it's not that hot.
Don't need pants.
Now for the regular eggs. These are basically known as grandpa eggs. And these were made in October 26th of last year. Whoa, let's not put that in there. Since you have a limited spatula, you might want to make it a little bit smaller.
They're a little thin.
The mix is over there on the table if you want to thicken those up. I don't know if you can see that. There's a deer. Oh, and there goes the fawn. So we were definitely camping out here.
What are you doing with the camera, though?
Just making some recordings.
Videos. He has a YouTube channel.
Well, breakfast is done. Now it's time to clean up. Probably made too many eggs, but everything else went good.
Isn't there another pancake there somewhere?
Yeah, there's some pancakes over here.
There's another pancake. We got fresh ones. You don't have to eat that. Come back over here and get it.
Okay, so for dinner, we're having steak. So I have regular, this is this raw steak. It's been uncooked, okay? And then I have steak that's been sous vide. So we're going to kind of see which steak is going to turn out to be the best. Okay, and so what I'm going to do is, because dinner is about 10 hours away, I'm just going to go ahead and start rehydrating this. Now, one thing you can tell with the sous vide steak still has all the seasoning on it, where the regular steak does not have any seasoning. So it's going to be an interesting comparison between the regular steak and the sous vide steak, and to see which one is going to taste better. This whole experiment is going to be interesting because I don't have a normal kitchen. What you see is basically my entire kitchen here. And like normal, I basically brought too much food, so I'm wrapping up some of the steak. I'm going to take some of the steak back home and we'll see what happens there. So it took this steak to freeze dry about 3 days, and so I don't want to wait till the very last minute to try to rehydrate, because I want my family eating steak that's hard in the center, because that's what happens if you don't hydrate it properly. So I got some water. Unfortunately, it's cold water, and I got some lemon juice. So we're going to add the lemon juice to the cold water just to give the steak a little bit of an acid to taste better. And I can promise, if you don't put some kind of an acid with a steak, it's not going to taste as well. I got some of my homemade Montreal seasoning I'm going to put in with this to help reconstitute the steaks. And so these steaks are going to marinate for about the next 10 hours. Now, the only problem I have is I don't have a refrigerator here. Meat or any food left out at room temperature is okay for 2 hours. But since I'm going to be rehydrating this for 10 hours, I'm going to have to put this back in the cooler and go down to the store down by the harbor and buy some ice. A bag of ice would normally cost me $1. Well, they're selling it for $5, and they're going to get $5 from me. So I can keep the steaks cool while they're rehydrated. Okay, so I have my reconstitution formula here. Water, lemon juice, and Montreal seasoning. So I'm going to divide this up between the two bags.
Well, I'm talking about being a personal trainer.
Oh, okay.
It was 220 for 6 sessions.
Now the sous vide steak already has some seasoning, so in a sense I'm double seasoning the sous vide steak.
But it is motivating.
And that can probably be the way it is. This I'll probably end up putting some seasoning on the grill, so I don't think I'm going to be over seasoning this food at all. So I'm going to burp this out, get as much air as I can out. Okay, so I'm going to give this 2 hours, 10 hours in a cooler, and I'll come back and see if all the moisture, the water's still there, or it's been rehydrated by the steaks. For lunch, we're having hamburgers. Now these hamburgers are quarter-pound patties that have already been cooked. And these were cooked a year ago. So these hamburger patties are 1 year old. So we'll have to see how these are going to come back. Hey, Shy Shy. Now one problem, some of these didn't make it through so well. Most of them are okay, got some broken pieces. Now the only question is how do you calculate how much moisture to put back in these things? Because I don't want them too soggy, because these are already cooked. So we just basically need to warm these back up on the grill. So I'm just going to have to estimate how much water to put back in these. But I don't want to get these too mushy. Okay, this is the first time I've done hamburgers, so it'll be interesting to see how these come back. Now, if all else fails and the hamburgers don't work out, I got Sloppy Joe mix. Okay, I've had these hamburger patties in water for about an hour and a half, and they're still a little bit hard. So instead of keeping them in the cooler, I brought them out on the hood of the car, and so now I have to start that 2-hour time limit with food. So these can remain out for 2 hours without any problems. I'm hoping before that they'll be rehydrated, where I can then put these on the grill, heat them back up, and we'll have hamburgers later on. So not only are we going to have hamburgers today, but we're also catching crayfish. And those who don't know what a crayfish is, or crawdad, they're kind of the same thing. I'll be showing some of those to you shortly.
Maybe something to be said of time lapse, considering this is a rather slow process. Even if I don't get one on camera, it won't make me look very good. I am the undisputed champion.
Oh, look at that. You got 2 of them.
Not super big, but...
So those are crayfish or crawdads.
Or crawfish.
We're gonna eat the tails tonight. That's pretty good.
Thank you.
Time to see if these are getting any better. There's pieces of these that are rehydrated really good. Then a couple places still kind of hard. So I think once I heat up the grill, I think we're going to get ready to have hamburgers. Okay, the burgers came out better than I thought. They look a little bit dry, but they actually have quite a bit of juice to them. So the only drawback with some of the burgers is they easily broke. So I have like little burger pieces. But for an experiment, it went very well. So we got freeze-dried hamburgers with tomatoes out of my garden. That's a good burger.
Yeah. I was
You can't
surprised.
tell it's freeze-dried at all.
I was like, I could.
So one of the problems is some of them broke apart, but I mean, they're still edible. They're not a perfect burger, but I'm surprised how moist the patties are. I mean, you can see that they're not stiff at all. And they're not overly dry, but they're pretty good considering these hamburgers were made a year ago. So, very successful. So it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and we just had our freeze-dried hamburgers. So I'm up here checking on our steaks. So remember, I put some water in here along with some lemon juice and some Montreal seasoning, and because I can't leave them out for more than 2 hours, I had to put them back in the cooler with some ice so that they don't go bad. So these are the regular steaks, and they have a pretty good consistency there. These are the sous vide steaks. So the sous vide steaks are pretty much already cooked, and they feel still kind of firm. So we'll put these back in, and dinner will probably be about 7 o'clock tonight. Okay, these steaks have been in moisture for most of the day. Okay, this is the sous vide steak. So I'm going just to kind of cut this, and you can kind of see, I mean, it is reconstituted pretty good. A little bit of rawness there, and that could be a good sign. So this is a sous vide steak. and this is a raw steak. Okay, it's a little bit tough in the center, and that's why I've been concerned. You can see how much the moisture has penetrated this, but I'm concerned that looks still dry. The sous vide steak is much better. So we're going to go ahead and cook these anyway, but I have a feeling that the sous vide steaks are going to be much better than the regular steaks. And these steaks have been marinating in liquid now for over 12 hours. Okay, I'm a little bit disappointed in my regular raw steak. So what I did, I sliced it up because it just wasn't hydrating well.
Is that the sous vide stuff? Or
No, this is just regular raw steak.
I was saying, are you gonna put that in the Dutch oven first? Or?
Well, I can't because then I can't use my recipe grill for the regular steak.
Oh.
Right now, she's like the appointment setter and stuff, so I'm by trade, she's an artist. She's going to school to actually design a degree. Had a grant,
I got both when you
realized that
when I go to normal school. Of course, please. Don't tell me how to do stuff. Okay,
We just want to put all these onions
on
on the fire pit so we can serve them.
Cut off you put them and you want to
How do you want to do it?
Come on, sweetie, go back to your new school.
Let's leave them in there for now.
I guess what? What are you making?
I hit a piece of jerky on the inside, but
Oh, piece of interesting way of calling it.
that's pretty much what it is. It's just
So we got sous vide on this side and regular raw
big
steak.
pieces are sous vide.
What's that?
Big pieces are sous vide.
The big pieces are sous vide. The sliced up pieces were the original raw steak.
Oh, I don't want to play anymore. I don't want to play.
You definitely want to sous vide. My boy's just as dirty as you. Should invest.
See, I can still see
Camp shower in the
a
family.
little bit of center there that doesn't look like it's
Hey Charlie.
fully hydrated.
Next time we go camping, Matthew pointed out that it might be not a bad idea to invest in a camp shower for Marsh and things like that.
Okay, so we have, these are supposed to be roasted potatoes, but we had too many to put into the pot, and so we just had to make them steamed potatoes. Not too bad. We have the zucchini, which was grilled with lemon butter. A little bit overcooked. Okay, now we have the steak. Now, originally, when I cooked one of these steaks by themselves, it kind of tastes like jerky in the center. So this is a steak that was freeze-dried from raw steak, and it's all sirloin cut. It's tender. The center is a little bit more firm, but definitely edible. Though this is a sous vide steak, so this steak was done in a sous vide and then dehydrated. A little bit harder to cut. This is much more tender. Now right here, it's kind of hard to cut through here. And you can kind of see a little bit of dryness right there. I'm a little bit disappointed that the steaks didn't rehydrate very well after 12 hours. This tastes really good. With the steaks sliced thin, really good. The steaks that remain in form, you can see still a little bit of dryness in there. But this steak is definitely better because it's been sliced. So, not a total waste, but I think I'm going to go enjoy my dinner.
Let's get you some food.
And
Yeah, okay, I can do anything. So you got any more? Oh wait, it's 3 to 7. That's not the best shift. What that looking at?
take a picture here. Run.
You know, when you get home, you should read the book Lord of the Flies.
The water cooler and some people.
Yeah, the flies.
How about 2 more bites of steak? Water cooler.
Z, you are a dirt ball.
Yeah.
Say, I'm a dirt ball.
Dissecting a pig.
Yeah, you are.
And what
Guarantee, like,
Well, by the remnants, it wasn't a total failure. But it was dinner, and we were hungry. So this is my freeze-dried cream cheese. And what we're going to do, very carefully and very slowly, we're going to add a little bit of hot water to it. I found out that if you put too much water in with your cream cheese, for some reason it forces the oils to separate from the cheese, and you end up with something it tastes okay but turns out to be kind of unsightly. So it just takes just a little bit of water to reconstitute this. If you think about it, how much water does cream cheese really have? And you got to also remember the cream cheese is not real thin. It is quite a thick texture. But it's Sunday morning, and we have bagels and cream cheese for breakfast, plus a breakfast casserole that I did just days prior to coming up here. And this came out really good. This is freeze-dried cream cheese. I added just a little bit of water to this one, but with this one, I added too much water, and you can almost see the fat or something has separated. So one thing I've learned is when reconstituting cream cheese, you really have to go easy on the water, because this is separated and it's kind of curdy, so to speak, and the oils have separated because too much water was added. I mean, it still tastes okay, but this cream cheese looks like cream cheese and is a lot better than my other attempt. This is the breakfast casserole I made just a few days before coming up here. And because there wasn't any reason to really put it in a Mylar bag, since it was only going to be in here just for a couple of days. Now this potato casserole, or breakfast casserole, is primarily made out of tater tots, eggs, bacon, onions, and some other things I can't think of it. Now, I've tried freeze-drying bacon by itself, and it just has never worked out. But bacon with other dishes seems to work out just fine. Right now it's about 50 degrees, a little bit on the cool side this morning. And I have hot water on the campfire, and that's what I'm adding to this right now. So this looks like it's about done. I'm going to let it sit and soak up any remaining moisture, and then it'll be breakfast time. I think one of the things I've learned from this camping experience for the last 3 days is I brought way too much food. But the food was good. Yeah, it just wouldn't be a family outing if it wasn't too much food. But overall, the freeze-dried food did rather well. The steak was a little bit disappointing because we kept the steaks in large pieces. The steaks really need to be sliced up.